So I used to tell my kids, or still do probably, that if anything is worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Now, that seems a little odd, I guess, but it's a reality, right? If you want to be able to do something, then you first have to be able to do it poorly. There's no chance that you're going to jump into something and it just be an automatic success. You can't start something and just be good at it. You know, you're going to have to work, you're going to make mistakes, and if you realize that you're going to be able to, you have to be able to learn as you practice, that mistakes are part of it, then you're going to fail right out the get-go. So, if you want to learn something, then you have to learn to fail. The only way to fail is, or the only way to learn something is to fail at it. Because if you don't fail, then there's nothing to learn. So you're not learning anything. If you don't make the mistake, you can't learn from the mistake, so therefore you're not learning anything. So, whatever you do, when you start doing something new, whether a new habit or a new routine or whatever it is, you're going to have to go through the 4-pane window of success, or of competence. And so the 4-pane window of competence is, I've talked about this before, it is unconscious incompetence. And we've talked about unconscious incompetence before. What is it? Well, unconscious incompetence means you don't even know that you don't know about something. You're totally unconscious of it, and you don't even know about it. You're not paying any attention to it, and you don't know anything about it. So, you have no experience with any action of any kind with it. You don't even know it exists. And at this point, if you hear about something that you don't know, you're unconsciously incompetent about, you can quit. You can stop right there. You don't have to move forward to the next step. And the next step, of course, is conscious incompetence, where you know it exists, you know the action is there, you know the habit is there, but you're totally incompetent at it. You can't do it. It's like riding a bike. When you get on the bike, you know that you can't ride the bike. But so you know that you don't know. You're conscious of the fact that you don't know how to ride the bike. So the only way to learn how to ride the bike is to start riding the bike. And as you fall and lose your balance and run into things, you learn how to ride your bike. That's the failure part, right? If you can't fail, you won't succeed. So, when you're consciously incompetent, that means what happens is your brain starts making the connections. I don't know anything about this, so it takes a lot of energy to change your brain. And that's what's happening when you're consciously incompetent. And after a while of practicing, maybe riding that bike or juggling or whatever it is that you're wanting to learn, then after a while, suddenly you start becoming consciously competent. Which means that when you pay attention, you can actually perform the action properly. You can ride your bike down the road without running into things or falling over. You can juggle 3 or 4 times without having to drop a ball. You can smile at your customer when they ask a hard question. You can, whatever it is, whatever action or habit you're trying to develop, when you're consciously competent, that means when you pay attention, you can perform the action. And finally, after doing that for a period of time, and realizing you got to concentrate on it and make sure you perform it correctly, then eventually you'll become unconsciously competent. This is the area we've been talking about on this channel for a long time. It's the development of habit. And once you have the habit of doing an action when a certain cue appears, then you are unconsciously competent at it. It means that you perform the action properly, but you don't even think about it. Your brain has made the connections, and it's so well oiled, and so the track has been traveled so many times that it just does it. You don't think about it. You don't think, well, I could do something else, or what happens if I did that? No, it doesn't do that at all. It just performs the action, which is what you want. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. You go into a dark room at nighttime, you turn the light on. During the day, when there's lots of light, you don't have that same reaction. The cue, of course, is the dark. But you don't even think about it, right? Do you actually think, oh, gee, it's dark in here. Maybe I think I should turn the light on. You don't do that. You just automatically turn the light on. That's unconsciously competent. You jump on your bike and you ride around the block. You don't think, what happens if I fall? What am I going to do if this happens? You don't do that. You just get on the bike and you ride around the block. Same thing with driving home from work. After a period of time of driving from work to home every day, I bet you half the time you don't even remember taking the turns or stopping at the stoplights or anything like that. The only time you actually remember the trip was when something special happened. Somebody almost sideswipes you, or you have to brake quickly, or you stop and let somebody in, or whatever it is that you do that's different than normal. That's what you remember. But if it's just a normal drive, you don't even remember it. Dollars to donuts. You're thinking about other stuff, you're thinking about work, you're thinking about, because you're unconsciously competent at driving home. That's the way it goes. So that's where you want to become. You want to become unconsciously competent when it comes to these habits that you're trying to build. Don't think, I'm going to instantly be successful at it. You have to go through that forepain. You have to go through the idea of not knowing that you don't even know, and then knowing you don't know, and then knowing you know, and then not even paying attention that you know. That's where you want to be. But the only way to do it is to actually go through that failure, making the mistakes, and learning. All right, so let's make it a little bit more concrete. So when we talk about these things, it's easy to just, oh yeah. But years ago, when I was a little more introspective, self-conscious, I found it difficult to engage people in public. I didn't feel comfortable with myself, I guess, so I needed some way of developing the skill of interacting with people in public. And so I decided I was going to hit on a plan. I was going to say hello to one person a day. Just hello. Well, you think that's easy, right? You think that's simple. Anybody can say hello to somebody during the day. One person a day. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't that conscious or confident with myself. And I remember going to a mall and going around the aisle like 5 or 6 times and looking at a person, a couple I think it was, at least 3 or 4 times. I must have thought I was nuts, right? But finally I had enough guts and courage to look up at them and say, hello, and then I ran by. Well, I did that for a week of saying hello to somebody and totally uncomfortable, totally failure because they freaked out. They thought I was nuts. They saw I was a weirdo. And that's eventually where I was. That's for the first week. Then I said, okay, I'm going to just say hello to 2 people and I'm going to ask a question. Of one of those 2 people, I'm going to ask them some question. And so through repetition of adding things each week, I got to the point where I could have a normal conversation with somebody that I just met wherever. I just You know, could build ladders if you know about sales. You want to build a ladder. You say something, they say something back. You say something, you're building a ladder. I could build ladders anytime because I'd practiced and I've made the mistakes and I've failed. I embarrassed myself tremendously because I just didn't know. But now, after practice, I knew what to say, how to react, how to hold myself, and had the confidence that I wasn't a weirdo anymore. And now, funny thing, when I walk down the street, it seems like people say hello to me before I say hello to them, which, you know, it's the sort of the reverse, right? I was trying to build the habit of saying hello to people just so I could gain confidence. Once I had the confidence, people felt more comfortable with me and they just introduce themselves or talk to me just spontaneously. So that's the 4-pane window. You do something uncomfortable. You learn, well, first of all, you realize you need to learn something. Then you do it uncomfortably for however long. Then you do it comfortably, consciously for a while. And then you start doing it unconsciously, and it just flows. So, what is it that you want to change about yourself? What is it that you know you're going to fail at? Don't lose heart. You're going to fail at it. But when you fail at it, learn and then try again.